Well, listen, everybody. Nancy has so much great information to share with us. Let's get right into it. The first thing that I want to know, Nancy, and a lot of people will probably ask you this because they asked me and Jason, how did you get into cybersecurity? I mean, when I tell you, when I was a little boy, I was not running around telling everybody that I was going to be a cybersecurity person when I grew up. What happened? How did it happen for you?
I fell into cyber. So I have a math degree and I was already geeky. So I was in technology. I was an application development manager in the middleware space. And somebody said to me, I'd like to build a third-party risk program. Would you want to lead that group? Knew nothing about it. Actually, the job title was OSP manager, and I didn't know what OSP meant. It meant outside service provider. I had to look it up before I interviewed. So it gave me an opportunity for a very large bank to build their third-party risk program for a credit card division. And it just did really well. I was invited to become the governance lead for the whole bank. And it took me into cybersecurity, and I've never looked back. But it came from me saying yes to an opportunity that I didn't know anything about, but was willing to try.
Boy, that's a common story, right? That's kind of my story conceptually. I was just doing a technology job, but I was doing it in a classified computing context, and so I backed into it, right? I kind of liked it, and so I volunteered to do more, and that was easy because everybody else was like, computer security, bleh, this stuff stinks. You want to do it? Here, do it all, right? So just I think being open to opportunities, right?
Exactly, being open to opportunities and being open to learning, because I didn't know anything about this area. And going into it from the third party perspective, it meant that I got to look at all of the controls related to cybersecurity, because when you outsource a service, you do not outsource the risk. So I was very fortunate that I got thrown into the pool and said, go swim. And I swam as fast as I could. And I learned from everybody I could possibly learn from. I remember a guy sitting with me teaching me about encryption. I had no idea. But people were kind enough to give me their time and their energy, and I was soaking it in and trying to learn everything I could.
And you had a math background, so
I
that was
did.
helpful.
Yeah, math and chemistry. And I started out as an actuarial student, and I still think learning how to solve problems is what's been helpful throughout my entire career. I'm still solving problems. They're not specifically math problems, but I'm still solving problems.
She just said, she said you can outsource the service, but you can't outsource the risk or the responsibility. Nowhere is that more true than cloud computing. Everyone these days wants to move to the cloud. They think it's going to solve all their problems. And really all you're doing is moving your servers to somebody else's servers, right? You're still responsible for the data. You're still responsible for the governance of it and the oversight of it. They may do all the technical back end, but you're still got the responsibility for that. And I see a lot of CIOs who miss that key distinction. And I just think it's important for our audience to remember that, because when you're in an interview, and somebody talks about you're outsourcing a service or you're outsourcing to the cloud, you still own that. You still have the responsibility for that. And so it's one of those things that in a lot of organizations, while the tech roles may be getting outsourced to these third-party providers and cloud providers, where a lot of those roles are happening, the actual governance and the GRC part is still staying with the organization because it has to. So as you're thinking about which jobs you want, GRC is one of those jobs that's really hard to outsource. In fact, I don't think you really can outsource it because you still have to own that responsibility.
Great point. Exactly right. You own it, accept it, and take it from there.
Yeah.